Hey guys, Ryan King here with Brian King Roofing. I got my dad Brian with me. We're wanting to do a video, something a little different, kind of introducing ourselves. We want to talk about our kind of just our founding story, how my dad got started in roofing. Growing up here on the farm, we're here on the same property that my dad grew up on, where I grew up. And so we're just wanting to talk about that a little bit and tell everybody about us. Our family's been here for multiple generations in Sevier County. I think our family come across the mountains in the late 1700s in the same county. So I'd like you to kind of explain, how did we end up here in Seymour, and where did you start out from there?
Originally settled in Warris Valley. Mom, Dad, all of them was from that area, of course. We started out up there working on a chicken farm, helping my Uncle Reed. He had chickens up there, and I guess that's how come we ended up migrating down here to Seymour. Max Justice had this property, owned a chicken house down here. So Mom and Dad ended up buying the place 55 years ago. I've been here ever since. Me and your mom had an acre of ground we got off Mom and Dad, built our house on it, and that's the same one we're in right now. We built the business here on the farm and been here ever since.
Talk to us about some of the early memories, as far as like some of the things that y'all had to do on the farm, and kind of some of the farm animals and what you grew, and some of your just daily responsibilities that you had on the farm as a kid.
Of course, like I said, we had the chickens. They were laying hens. We had a barn up here, it's a little over 350 feet long, kept about 20,000 in it. We had to pick up eggs 2 times a day, morning and evening. So it's kind of like the old analogy with the dairy farmers. It was a 7-day-a-week job. We had to be there. Vacation wasn't something we took. We grew tobacco, grew tomatoes, grew corn. We had hogs, had cattle. So, I mean, the typical stuff, I guess I say typical. I was born and raised around here, so I guess that was typical
for this area.
Yeah, and I knew that, like I said, growing up, that's what I had to do, throughout the day in and day out.
How did you end up meeting Mom and
decided to start roofing? I guess is the question.
Yeah. Where does roofing come into the picture?
Yeah, of course, me and your mother went to grade school, high school together, graduated. We ended up getting married, and.
So did you know Mom in elementary school?
Yeah. I knew her the whole time. I don't know if I knew her, but she acts like she knew me. And kind of when we started dating, the way I kind of got into roofing, I helped her dad roof during the summer.
So how old were you when you started dating Mom?
You're putting hard questions on me now. Probably 15, maybe, right around there, I guess. Yeah. Middle school, just started high school.
Yeah.
When we got together, and of course, like I said, I started helping her dad roof during the summer. 1990 to 91 range is when I actually started roofing. Went to Posting Company, worked there about 2 months. Mom was actually pregnant with you at the time. So we had a new baby coming, had car payments, had house payments, all that type of stuff. And I bring my lunchbox home there one day and I said, hey, I quit. She said, you what? I said, I quit. She said, what are you gonna do? I said, I'm gonna start roofing. She said, what are you gonna do, start helping Dad? I said, no, I'm not gonna do that. I said, I'm gonna go to work for myself. She said, oh my Lord, we're gonna starve to death. And I mean, I felt like it was gonna be on me then, and if I don't make it, it's Brian's fault. It ain't nobody else's.
You just wouldn't want to leave it up to anybody else as
No,
far as your own faith goes.
I'm gonna be the one to do it if I'm gonna do it.
Right.
That here we had a new baby coming, and not knowing which direction we're gonna go. Of course, the Lord's been in all that.
So you start the company. Mom's pregnant with me at the time. How much, I guess, did you have to rely on my Papa Sands at the time, who had his own roofing company? As far as, was there any guidance there? How much did he help you?
I knew at the time that Jimmy, which was my father-in-law, he
my other grandfather.
Yeah, he was already roofing, and their whole family history goes back, a couple more generations. So it ain't like he was the first one,
right?
Or I'm the third one,
right?
We're getting into 4 or 5 generations. It's actually roofed here in Sevier County area.
Right.
So I knew that, Jimmy'd be more than tickled to help me and work with me on this stuff. He was doing work for Sears at the time. Sears was selling home improvements, what they done.
Right.
So while he was doing work for them, you know, I kind of, you know, piggybacked off of him, subbed some work from him, and that's kind of, I guess, the way I got started. And as it gradually went on, they were wanting to put another contractor to work. So when they wanted to put another contractor to work, why not just keep it in the family? I go out and get my own work comp, general liability, dump truck, whatever I may need, and start doing that. Did work for Sears for probably about 6 years. And the whole time I was able to do that, I was able to concentrate more on just the job. I didn't have to run around, try to sell the work. I went to work with the crew in the morning, I come home with the crew in the evening. So
Right.
all we had to do is go pick the material up. When we went to the job site, I stayed at the job site. And we were actually able to do the work. And that's where, you know, with like Ronnie and Derek and Dad and Uncle Reed and Jerry and all my other cousins and stuff were kind of involved. And Ronnie, and when we
Okay,
kind of,
you mentioned Ronnie,
Yeah.
so explain who Ronnie is. for-
Ronnie's a younger brother. He's 2 years younger than I am. When we kind of started doing this, me and Ronnie were working together, and I was working for Ronnie at the time, and he kind of went his direction, I went my direction.
Right.
And saying that, Ronnie worked with me for years after the fact, job foreman, site foreman, as I started gradually getting a little bit busier, you know. And like I said, we had a lot of our cousins work, and we actually went out and done the work. We were actually on the job site, you know, doing it. We wasn't just out trying to sell the work.
I've heard people all around the county and East Tennessee, they talk about, you know, just your amount of knowledge that you have in roofing. Do you think that's tied back to your experience as far as working on the job site and figuring all that out along the way?
If everybody's done everything right, they've never done that. You know, with us doing the Sears work, I was actually able to get up there, hands-on, say, no, let's don't do it like that, let's do it like this. And I ain't closed-minded. I'm gonna learn stuff every day. If I hired somebody new that come on the crew and they could do something a little bit different, I didn't care to apply that to what we were doing.
When I was a kid, all I known was roofing. Did you have any intention of me helping you at some point in time, or even taking this business over and this business becoming what it is today? Was that even in your head at the time?
We carried phone books around with us. I had a Knox County, Blount County, Sevier County.
Right.
I had a Knox County, Blount County, Sevier County map. So all of our navigation was through a map. And I guess that's where you kind of got good at doing a lot of that.
Yeah.
Because as you got a little older, I had you back there in the back with a map out saying, which way do I need to turn? You know,
Right. I remember
and
that.
type of thing. So
Yep.
we had a lot of different, you know, days finding jobs, looking at jobs, you know, like you said before, it was a family effort because your mom rode with me every day. She'd write the estimates up when I'd get up there and measure them, and we actually climbed on the houses and
Right.
measured them. I didn't have no hover, didn't have no eagle view, didn't have none of that stuff. When
Right.
I got on, we got the job site, I got up on the house, I drew the job out and wrote the measurements down.
So the other day, I get the question. Somebody asked me how old I was the first time I got on a roof. You got any idea how old I might have been the first time you put me up on a roof?
I don't really know if I could say that without getting put in jail. Well, let's change this up a little bit, I guess. Since you've asked me all the questions, I knew you went on to college, went to Maryville College,
Right.
got some degrees over there.
Right.
And I think, you know, the whole time you were going to school, I guess during the summer a little bit, you worked with us, helped us, that type of thing. What made you decide that you wanted to do this?
This is all I've known. I watched you do it. I watched Uncle Ronnie do it. I watched my Papa Jim, my Uncle Keith. I mean, my whole family is roofed. I recognize the hard work that y'all put into this. As far as everybody knows that roofing's a hard job. It's hot. It's even hotter up on that roof. And I knew you had already laid the foundation to have. I mean, now we have a company that's been here for 34 years in the same county, same phone number, same name. We've never left here. So I knew you'd already laid that foundation down to do this. That's what made the most sense to me, was to start helping you and build something even, you know, bigger than what you had started.
With anything, you put the weight on your shoulders and you got to carry it.